It's sunflower time. Are you ready? Let's go! Good morning, and I'm Sheen, and I'm in the middle of a sunflower field, and I'm going to be sharing today some photography tips. Our tips will include everything from lens selection, camera settings, composition, and other information that'll help you get great sunflower images. We're going to be sharing tips, skills, and techniques so we can spend more time focusing on our artistry in the field. When standing in the middle of a sunflower field, it's so tempting to just dive in and start shooting away. Instead, stop, look, and listen, because there is so much to see and photograph. There's macro photography with bees, visitors, and tiny details. There's bold, colorful landscapes with big, vast fields. The sunflowers with their big faces and small faces make amazing portraits. With all of these options, where do we begin? This is where it's great to step back and look. Find what interests us, what's inspiring and catching our eye. Our best work starts with our unique perspective. What is the best time of day to photograph sunflowers? Early in the morning is one of the best times to be out in a sunflower field. One of the reasons? Nature is just waking up. So in the early morning, the bees are still sleeping. And this sunflower has 2 sleeping bees. Shh, they're going to wake up soon. Since nature is just waking up, they're moving slowly, which makes it a great time for macro photography. A benefit of early morning photography is that there are minimal shadows to manage to. Sunflowers, by their very nature, some are very small, but some are quite large. Their shadows can be quite intense as the day goes on. Another time of day to photograph is late in the afternoon, where you've got that beautiful golden light before sunset. Every time I go into the field, I see something different with sunflowers. I let both the sunflowers and my eye guide my composition. This summer we've had a lot of rain. The result of the rain, roadside reflecting ponds for our sunflowers. When out in the field, we take what Mother Nature gives us. I'm a little bit of a cloud fanatic, so I couldn't resist this bold field covered with white fluffy clouds. But what do you do when you get a little bit stuck for composition? Sometimes you just need to change your angle of view. And that angle of view can be photographing the sunflower field from the backside. Up close, these big faces offer great portrait opportunities. Some sunflowers even have a little bit of an attitude, such as this bashful lady. Walking around to the backside of a sunflower also offers a unique perspective. Watch for the light coming through the petals, brightening up the details and the texture, and for interesting blue skies in the background. Then there's also the context shot. Those are those images of what's happening in the sunflower field. We have our pollinators buzzing about. There's sunflowers with different color combinations too, from bright yellow petals, orange petals, all the way to deep burnt orange. These big faces are a pollinating landing field for our bees. This serves up some great macro photography opportunities. Plus, photographing bees early in the morning is a pretty good way to start the day. The rules of composition serve as a good guide for us to follow. From simplifying the scene, rules of thirds, filling the frame, use of lines, leading lines, changing your perspective, high, low, or from behind, those are all excellent tips when we're composing our images. However, I think there's one element that's stronger than any rule of composition, and that's emotion. When an image connects and resonates with a viewer, that's stronger than any element. And sunflowers, when they're old and wilted, they make interesting photographs, even applying some grunge effects once you're in post-processing. There is so much diversity to photograph. Macro photography, super wide, portraiture, insect photography, bird photography. When looking at sunflower fields too, shooting over and above the horizon line, at the horizon line, but also getting down low in between the sunflowers, you may find some interesting flowers just waiting to be photographed with a unique perspective. But really what it comes down to is, what does your eye see? To make our compositions shine, we need to harness the light effectively. We manage and control the light by our use of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, which is called the exposure triangle. Aperture adds dimension to your photos by controlling the depth of field. Aperture is expressed in f-stops, such as f1.8, f8, f9, f16. When your aperture is open wide, it will give you a soft blurred background with all the light harnessed to your subject. A smaller aperture spreads the light across the entire image. This gives a big depth of field from foreground to background. Shutter speed is the amount of time the shutter is open, and ISO is our sensor speed, and it's measured in ISO 100, 200, 400, and up. Because I like to control my depth of field, I either shoot in aperture priority, where I select the aperture, and then the camera chooses the shutter speed, or I shoot in manual mode, where I control all of the elements. What aperture to use when photographing sunflowers? The entire scale. With my nifty 50, I'll start shooting at 1.8 and take it all the way up to f16. Some I shoot at f9, f10, f11, and others I'll do f16 depending on the lens and the look I'm going for. But the key is, when you're shooting at one sunflower, play the scale. Gives you a lot to work with in post-processing. Here's a few thoughts as it relates to our lenses. So what is the best lens for photographing sunflowers? The one in your hand. Sunflowers, whether it's an iPhone or a smartphone, to prime lenses, to zoom lenses, the world is your oyster, or should I say the world is your sunflower. A favorite lens is the nifty 50 or the 50mm. This lightweight lens is great for photographing sunflowers. You get just enough width, you get a lot of depth, and you can get some really nice portrait images with the 50mm. Other lenses, zoom lenses, telephoto lenses, work well too. So again, it's not a given lens, it's really what you see and what lens you want to work with. Up next, I'll share a few images and the lenses that were used. Earlier I mentioned the nifty 50. This is one of my favorite images taken with this lens. The nifty 50 is fast, it's sharp, it's lightweight, and it's a great price performer. This next image was taken with my 24 to 70mm using the 24mm focal length. With that wide focal length, you'll notice that the faces of the front sunflowers are distorted and much larger than those that are close behind them. These wide and super wide focal lengths really give images a lot of depth. This image was also taken with the 24 to 70mm. I used the zoom capabilities to zoom in and out to find the right composition. For the sunrise image, I used my 70 to 200 telephoto lens. This allowed me to capture the size of the sun in balance with the size of the sunflower. And for our bees, I used my 105mm macro. The reason I chose the 105 is because I wanted to have a good working distance between me and my insects and butterflies. Another thing we don't talk about much as photographers is safety. In sunflower fields, the grounds are typically uneven. In the morning, in a lot of cases, they're wet and slippery. So making sure you're wearing a good sturdy hiking boot, good sturdy shoes. There's also mosquitoes, so you're probably going to want to have some mosquito repellent or tick repellent, as well as eye gear or eye protective wear. I always keep an emergency first aid kit in my Jeep. Hopefully I won't have to use it, but it's there just in case. Next up, a quick recap of our responsibilities as photographers when visiting sunflower farms, and an introduction to Lebo farms a sunflower farm in Sutton's Bay. Don't be that guy or gal who's trespassing. Make sure that if you're entering a field that you have permission, that it's okay for photographers to enter. Otherwise, make sure you're staying on the road and not on their property. I am here with Pete Lebo, the owner of this amazing sunflower farm.
One of the 5 owners. My siblings are co-owners with me. So.
All right, so it's a family-run business.
So 61 years we've had the farm. My mom and dad purchased it. My brothers and sister and I are all co-owners of the farm now, so we're pretty excited about that.
So how many visitors do you think you get here in season?
Per day, we'll probably get anywhere from 20 to 100 people probably.
Nice.
Right now.
From all over?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and they keep coming back. I mean, I'm getting a lot of good reports that people look forward to this every year, so
yes.
That's a really cool thing for us.
Yes, we do. It's about 12 miles from our house, and I absolutely love this visit. So thank you for letting us come in and photograph and buy your beautiful sunflowers.
But the sunflowers keep us all happy.
Yes, they do. And next, the most important tip. One of the most important things about sunflower photography is to have fun. So before I go, hope you'll subscribe. Have a great day and happy shooting.